I actually put it into AI, and I said,
So did I.
so I said, do they have any relation? And they said that the only relation that they have is that they both work in the K-12.
Yeah. And then I asked who are the founders for each, and
Yeah.
do they work together?
Yep.
Yes, but I did exactly what you said.
Okay, so which you have?
Thank you. Yeah.
Laura, let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready. Go.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome tonight to the regular, the committee of the whole meeting. It is Thursday, April 2nd, 6 p.m. start time. Thank you for making it through the rain successfully. Have roll call, please.
Mr. Craddy?
Here.
Mr. Ruth?
Here.
Mr. Troy?
Here.
Mr. Feckety?
Here.
Mrs. Murray?
Here.
Mr. Bobby?
Here.
Mrs. Maiorino?
Here.
She's remote. We put her microphone on so that it amplifies. All right, Melissa, can you say it one more time?
Here.
A little bit better. Okay, we have a quorum of 7 board members here tonight. First item is pledge of allegiance. All right, welcome everybody. Please stand for the pledge.
One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, board. We are excited to have with you some special students here tonight. They are our April High Five winners, and they're going to come up, each one to introduce themselves to you, and then Ms. Lombard will read their nomination. I do want to start with our High Five winner from February, who is not able to be here with us, and it is Jack Collins. He's with the Light Program.
My name is Jack. Lombard, she can tell you what we say about you.
Jack, your nominators were Mrs. Precor, Mrs. Globin, and Mrs. Korn, and here is the wonderful things they had to say about you. Jack is a wonderful example of the portrait of a learner through his adaptability, perseverance, and positive engagement with others. He has successfully acclimated to a new environment, new staff, and new peers, demonstrating flexibility and resilience as he learns new teaching systems and works closely with his supports. Jack approaches learning with a strong work ethic, quickly picking up new skills and consistently following directions. His growth reflects a learner who is open to learning and committed to personal progress. Just as importantly, Jack shows strong interpersonal skills. He works well with his staff and peers and brings joy to all those around him with his gentle nature and his great sense of humor. In a short period of time, he has made meaningful progress while maintaining a positive attitude and a willingness to try. Jack's effort, adaptability, and character make him a deserving recipient of the High Five Award. Congratulations.
My name is Eleanor. My grade is 2nd grade. My school is Cheswick.
And Eleanor, your nominators were your PE teachers, Mr. Hanson and Mr. Wagner. And here's what they had to say. Eleanor is a wonderful example of our portrait of a learner in action, especially as a compassionate collaborator. In PE class, she consistently looks for ways to help others, whether it's encouraging a classmate, offering support, or simply bringing a positive attitude to our space. Eleanor's kindness and willingness to lift others make up a meaningful impact on her peers. She truly reflects what it means to shine bright and contribute to our Chesed community. Congratulations.
Hi, my name is Eden. I'm in fifth grade, and I go to Coffee Elementary.
And your nominator was your classroom teacher. Eden consistently demonstrates respectful, responsible, safe, and involved behavior in our classroom. She is always willing to help classmates who are struggling and does so with patience and kindness. She is so mindful of others and makes an effort to include everyone in our class activities. In discussion, she contributes thoughtful comments that help deepen our learning and create a positive environment for everyone. Her attitude and actions truly model what it means to be a supportive and engaged member of our class community and school. Congratulations.
My name is Quinn. I go to Conley, and I'm 6 years old.
And Quinn, your nominator was your music teacher. Quinn consistently shows respect, responsible, safe, and involved behavior during music class. When I got hit with a stomach flu during class, Quinn saw me struggling and silently brought me over the tissue box. It was the sweetest, kindest gesture. He is such a helpful friend, not only to me, but to everyone in class. There have been many times when another student isn't sure where to go or what to do, and Quinn subtly helps out without any expectation of something in return. He is such a bright spot in Mrs. Shaw's class and a pleasure to have during music. Congratulations.
My name is Mia. I go to Morris Elementary, and I'm in fifth grade.
And Mia, your nomination came from your classroom teacher. Mia is truly deserving of the recognition of a Huntley High Five student. She is known by her peers as a kind and supportive friend, always bringing a positive attitude and a willingness to help others. In the classroom, Mia consistently demonstrates being responsible, respectful, and involved. She leads by example and contributes to a positive and welcoming environment for everyone around her. Mia is a natural leader who others look up to, and her actions reflect the values we strive to build in our students every day. We are so proud to nominate Mia for this well-deserved recognition. Congratulations.
My name is Beckett, and I'm in second grade at Licky.
And Beckett, your nomination comes from your teacher. Beckett is a hard worker. He always does his best on all of his work, even when it's a challenge. He's a kind classmate and respectful to all of his teachers. He's a great example of what it means to be a champ. Beckett follows the expectations and shows kindness and respect to everyone here at Lehigh. Congratulations.
I'm Bella, and I'm in 8th grade at Heinemann.
Bella, and your nomination came from your principal. Bella has held leadership positions within our school and has used those to advocate for peers and prepare for events for them as a student council president. In her interactions with peers, she brings an energy to conversations within the classroom and is always willing to help others around her. Most recently, Bella discussed student voice at Heinemann and has been an integral part of making it a successful part of what we do here. Congratulations.
My name is Ben, and I'm in 6th grade, and I go to Marlow Middle School.
And Ben, your nomination came from your team of teachers, so the whole 6-2 team. Ben is a dedicated student who consistently enhances his learning environment by asking thoughtful, clarifying questions and actively engaging participation from his teammates. As an engaged and responsible citizen, Ben embodies our portrait of a learner by contributing to the school community with genuine empathy, kindness, and respect for his peers and teachers. He demonstrates remarkable integrity in his daily interactions, embracing diverse perspectives and collaborating with others to ensure a positive, inclusive environment on our team. By taking informed action to support his classmates, Ben helps create a positive change and interconnected culture, making him an exemplary representative of the Huntley High Five Award. Congratulations.
My name is Tyler Quilos. I am a freshman at Huntley High School.
And Tyler, your nominators were your biology teacher, your math teacher, your advisory teacher, your case manager, and one of the support staff, so a variety. Tyler is one of the most respectful, polite, and caring students. He works well with others and helps his peers with assignments. He is engaged, kind, and considerate in our freshman advisory, showing respect for the link crew leaders and peers, and he brings his background knowledge into the classroom and enjoys sharing this with all. Tyler takes accountability not only for himself, but his role in our community. He sees the fabric of society and understands that upholding it is important. He is always reaching out for help, offers useful feedback, and builds connections. Tyler has demonstrated meaningful growth this semester, particularly in his ability to manage challenges and positive thinking strategies and advocating for himself. He's become more engaged and confident in both academic and social settings. Way to go, Tyler.
I'm Joseph, I'm from Light.
And Joseph, your nomination came from one of the Light job coaches. Joseph is a strong example of a student developing the skills needed to be future ready. Through his weekly 3-hour shifts at Chick-fil-A, he's building dependable, valuable, real-world experience and demonstrating a growth set of employment skills. Joseph consistently shows a positive attitude on the job and has developed strong interpersonal skills, as is evidenced by how kind and respectful he is with staff and everyone around him. In addition to his friendly demeanor, Joseph is continuing to strengthen his work habits. His commitment to showing up each week and putting forth his very best highlights his dedication and growth as an employee. Joseph's progress in the workplace reflects his readiness for continued success in competitive employment, and we are so very proud of the strides he is making towards his future goals. Congratulations. Now, we know how hard that is to hear all those fun things about you and all those wonderful things, especially with everybody staring at you. So we would like you guys to come on up here. We have a certificate we'd like to give you as congratulations. So everybody will shake your hands, and then we'll come down for a big group picture, and all your parents and everybody in the audience can get pictures too. So while you come up, I have a quick message to your family that brought you here today, so you guys can come on that way. And parents, thank you so much for sharing your wonderful students with us. It's absolutely what makes Huntley a great place to be, so thank you.
Congrats.
job. Good job.
Congratulations, great job. There you are.
Good job.
Quinn. Congratulations. And Becca, way to go. Very nice job.
Congratulations.
You're proud of yourself. I don't think I've.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Great job. There you are. Congratulations. I don't think I've ever done it. Great job. Great job. Great job. We'll be looking for you next time. All right?
Congratulations. Great work, okay? Good job. No, right here.
I know.
Great work, okay?
Hi, Jack.
Come together a little bit, okay?
That's for him.
There you go, yeah.
Buddy, how are ya? Keep up the great work. You guys accomplished it. Nice job. Keep it up. I got one. Thank you.
Got a window?
Oh, yeah, I didn't even know.
I just want to make sure you're over. Yeah.
All right, back up. There you go. Smile. Back more.
Good, this is good. All right, everybody, eyes up here. Good job. Thank you, Jack. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Awesome. Parents.
Come on out. Come closer. Come closer. All right, congratulations, everybody.
I didn't sound filled. Well, there's, no.
Thank you.
I barely ate.
I know, that was yeah. Can't wait to see what my drawer looks like. You know, right. You promised us. I didn't there. Like Pioneer. Yeah, I did. You did. It took me a long time. Yeah.
Andy, the mic on the speaker.
I don't need a mic on the speaker.
Closer. Drop it in the airport.
Yeah.
Item number 3 on our agenda tonight is public comment. I have 2 sheets here from the bin. First is Francesca Anderson.
Yes, sir.
Press the button, there's a button at the bottom. You'll see a green light.
Okay, guys.
There you go.
I'm here tonight to follow up the situation I spoke about a couple weeks ago at the last board meeting. Significant
impact on my son. On my way here, I received the email that my son's record will be expunged, that decision matters. It allows him to move forward with what happened here, and it wasn't just about one moment. When situations like this escalate quickly, the impact is real. My son now has a reputation, and even staff are asking about the situation. I appreciate the expungement, and I'm still sad that he has lost 20% of his baseball season, his instructional time, and his access to support. And for the first time in his life, his name is attached to something that does not reflect who he is, and it was harmful. Right now, my son does not feel safe. In his meeting, they even asked him, how do you feel about returning to school? And he said, I don't want to walk around looking over my shoulder. So he now carries some of that concern that he could be targeted again. And as a parent, I feel like that's unacceptable. The expungement is an important first step, but it is only the beginning. Now comes the work of repairing the impact this situation has had on my son and other boys that were involved. While working through this with the school, we are also now required to navigate the court system, investing additional time, energy, and financial resources into something that could have been prevented. So my hope moving forward is this, that we continue to build on what already exists by extending and following the policies within the handbook and board policies, including restorative practices, conflict resolution, decision-making, and peer accountability. It is essential that systems and practices are reviewed to ensure supports are consistently in place for students who need them, so we can address concerns before they turn into incidents. Because ultimately, this is about safety. My next focus now is to help my son and the other boys continue to heal and undo the negative narrative that can come from a situation like this. And working in partnership with the team to ensure he is seen for who he truly is and is not defined by a moment that does not reflect his character. I'm grateful that you all listened. I'm grateful that the school listened. I'm grateful for the appeal process. And I'm hopeful that something positive can come from a very difficult experience.
Thank you for your comment. Our second slip is from Marissa Rentis. I hope I said that right.
Okay, so Marissa's nervous, so she just asked me to help her out, but she's another parent from the situation that was involved. And basically just wanted to make sure that someone from the school does get back to her. She's still waiting for schoolwork. The Chromebook stuff is available, but she's still waiting for some additional schoolwork. She also filed for an appeal process. No one has gotten back to her, so she just wants to make sure that everyone is hearing her, that she is an involved parent as well, and wants to make sure that we get through this system, through the process as fast as possible. And I have two more parents that I'm still reaching out to. If I get them, we'll be back at the next one. So thank you very much.
Marissa, before you go, we're really friendly people.
She's
No,
not a
truly,
public
it's
speaker.
not our intent, it's not our intent to intimidate. So please, you're welcome to speak. Please feel free to do so, and please feel free to come back.
Oh, I definitely will be
Please
back.
don't be nervous. I know how it feels to do exactly that. I've done it myself. But don't let that hold you back.
I guess so. Thank you.
Absolutely, you're very welcome. Thank you both for coming tonight.
Thank you.
That's all we have for public comment. Item number 4 is revision and adoption of the agenda. Is there anything on the agenda that we should table, move, or remove? I do have one item, and it's just a small tweak or modification. It's for item 14. We do not have any student disciplinary matters to discuss, nor do we have litigations that I'm aware of. Correct, okay. All right, so other than that little tweak, and not hearing anything else, I move to adopt the agenda with the removal of those 2 small items for closed session. Otherwise, the rest of the agenda remains.
Second.
Mr. Bobby, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, Mrs. Marino. Item number 5, Curriculum and Instruction Committee. Mr. Company, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, I will turn it over to Dr. McCrindle, talk through high school honors science materials as well as middle school social studies materials.
All right, thank you, and good evening. This evening, we have some high school science materials for our honors level courses to put on 30-day review. They are continuing a partnership with McGraw-Hill, and it would allow us to have 6 years of this curriculum in order to support our students at the high school level in their honors science courses. The teachers did get together and selected these materials, and they're confident that they will help add some more of those hands-on labs and opportunities for students. They're excited about some of the updates that have been made. And so the total cost for those school years will be $108,633. And we do have the scope and sequence in there for you as well. But it allows us to have for honors biology, honors chemistry, and honors physics, a 6-year subscription for science for those courses. This spring, our teachers will continue working on some curriculum maps and pacing guides, as well as some assessments, and then they'll be implementing those maps and using these materials in the fall. And so if there's no other questions, we're just asking that these get put on 30-day review, and they would be approved at the May Board of Education meeting based off of the 30 days that it takes to do system on review.
If you may, just educate me a little bit. It's a 6-year contract. In that contract, is there updates that they do as time goes on? I presume there are.
Yes, great question.
Part and parcel of that.
They are. So what we're getting is a digital update of just the material. So any of the updates that happen, you would be able to have any of those things that are updated. There are some hard copies of student textbooks that would be there. Those would not be updated over the 6 years. But most of these publishers do additional updates that are, they can push out that then a teacher can just maybe assign an article to students differently, but we do have access to all those updates. It's a great question. The nice thing too about some of these materials are they are adding more videos to be able to see, live things in action. And so as those videos are created, teachers have access to that database and can then play them within their class and let students be able to see them. And so the nice thing about digital access is any of those updates we do get.
And those are inclusive in the price?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Dr. McCrindle, for our community, can you speak a little bit to the need for a separate honors material opposed to taking our standard curriculum and just enhancing it at the local level?
Absolutely. So we currently just adopted Open SciEd, which is an open resource for our science classes that we approved, I believe it might have been this fall. Mr. Feige, I don't know if you remember exactly, but fall-ish. And so that resource is an open resource for students and for staff to use. What McGraw-Hill does is a higher level resource that has higher level standards. It is able to push our kids at that level that we need for the honors and our accelerated kids, our kids that might be on that track to go into AP courses or maybe go study science, later on in life in college. And so the reason it is a different set of materials than what our general education courses are is we want to make sure the rigor was there, and this resource does have that. It also aligns it to the ACT and the science test even more. The other option does as well, but this one gets it to that higher level for our students. And so it's really trying to open that door for them. For the kids that might go explore the STEM world. And so it gives them more opportunities, it's more robust, and it just allows that differentiation for our accelerated learners.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah,
Go
I had
ahead.
a question. It's tied to honors courses in general and to science. In the spirit of NASA's Artemis II launch yesterday, I know you spoke before about adding astronomy. Is there an opportunity for an honors astronomy as well?
That's a good question. So right now, these are just the core classes that we offer, for just 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, what's required by the state. We offer an astronomy elective, and so that could be something that comes up through some more conversations, but I think it will continue to be something that is of interest to students, for sure. But there's not an honors level of that elective. Yeah, most students who go through the science track will end up taking the honors courses of, chemistry, biology, and physics, and then go take an AP science course potentially as they go up, so that then they can take that course and apply it to college credit and be able to not take that course in college. And so that's typically what we see our students do, but that can be something we explore.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, more kids are choosing astronomy, so that's why we added that course a couple of years ago.
Any other questions for Dr. McCrindle related to the high school science honors material? All right, on to middle school social studies.
All right, and then the next agenda item I have is for our middle school science or social studies materials. Our teachers have been getting together to take a look at their materials as well, and we are recommending just renewing our current social studies materials in order to help support our learners. We currently are using, it's National Geographic for 6th grade world history, and then McGraw-Hill for 7th and 8th grade. So our teachers have been working this school year to take a look at our different units, making sure that we are embedding our literacy skills into our social studies classes, because there's a lot of correlation between when you're reading a text, like we do day in, day out, it's not just the literature book, but it's that informational text. And so our social studies teachers have really been taking on the work of how do you read like a historian, how do you read research, how do you determine if something is fake news or real news, and trying to help kids learn and kind of analyze that, as well as writing, because writing is a huge part of what we need to help support our students in doing. And so we are asking to renew basically just the updated version of those materials for our teachers for the next 6 years, so that then they can continue leveraging the resources that the teachers have been building out and continue to focus on building in our literacy skills within our social studies instruction. And so you'll see that on review is about $87,000 for our 6th grade National Geographic materials, and then for 7th and 8th grade, $155,000 for 7th and 8th grade, for a total of $242,998. That is higher than the honors materials, but that's because this hits every single 6th, 7th, and 8th grader, whereas the science honors materials is a select group. But again, this is for 6 years. What that helps us be able to do is we are able to get our costs down a little bit with negotiation on prices, and it gives our teachers some stability in the units and the instruction, and allows them to really get to be experts in what they're teaching, and so that then we can help support our students in the best way. And so we're asking for this to also be put on 30-day review, and so be approved at the May 21st Board of Education meeting.
Any questions related to the middle school social studies materials? All right, hearing no questions, thank you, Dr. McCrindle.
Thank you.
I have one
Yeah.
question, unrelated, if I may. I thought maybe the committee could look into the concept of picking up a course on AI, whether it be chat or some of the other ones. There's tons of them, I know. But just curious if we've ever thought of including that as a course.
So this is a good time to bring this up. So part of our middle school schedule review that we gave an update on, that we are delaying the implementation of the updated middle school schedule to allow us to really make sure we're supporting our staff and students. And that is looking at our exploratory course options. And so at the middle school level, all students have an opportunity to access exploratory classes, which could be STEM-related, art, communications, there are food, there's different options. And so part of that work is going to be looking at those opportunities for students and seeing how we can embed more real-world college career readiness skills into those. And so we see a perfect opportunity to put some AI work into some of those exploratory options, and also college career, so that we can figure out what skills, what are the jobs that are out there, so kids can start to explore those even earlier. And so some of that work will be done, and you'll see some updates in the next year as those teams get together. They're starting in April to have some of those conversations as exploratory teachers, and then you should see some updates next year on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I'm seeing no special education committee items, so I will skip to.
Hang on.
Oh,
Let her say that.
oh, sorry.
Small, nope. Delayed ad.
Okay.
Number 6, Special Ed Committee.
Thanks
Dr. Gill.
for giving me the opportunity. Actually, very brief, but was hoping that you might notice just a little bit of a change in our board room this evening with the addition of circle square for our carpets, and wanted to give a little bit of context to that because it was very intentional, and it's really something that we're proud of in the work that we're doing together in learning innovation. So the past couple months, we've been saying, we have these wonderful students coming in, and they often don't necessarily know where to stand or what to do. And it was really a perfect opportunity for us to think about our strategic plan and our portrait of a learning environment, and how every day we look at designing our learning environment in a way that's conducive for access to learning. And so you're going to hear a lot of conversation in the coming months and years around universal design for learning, and how we design for the most complex situation, and which supports our most complex learners, but also supports our everyday kind of situations. So we had, Dr. McCrindle and I were kind of commenting, wouldn't it be nice if we could sort of show our universal design for learning in action? So we ordered some carpet circles here. They're removable, but they allow our students some cues for where to stand, where to look, what to do. It allows the teacher, in this case, Ms. Barr, when she's meeting with the students ahead of time, to give the students some information ahead of time, some context about what to expect. And we were really kind of curious what that would look like tonight, and what we saw was what we expected to see. When we design an environment that's supported for all, it really provides just some clarity, and it allows students sort of a smooth transition into what it is they're asking, or we're asking them to do. So, so this is something that we will continue to use to give our students a visual for what to do, and it was, I just appreciated Denise's flexibility today. We were mapping it out, and I think it's going to be a great way for us to make sure all of our students have visual cue they need. So wanted to give some context to that, because it really is tied to the work we're doing in learning and innovation around making sure that the learning environments we create in our schools, there are just simple things we can do to really support both the learner and the educator. So thanks for letting me jump in last minute, but we got them through Amazon, and we were super excited to get it going. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise,
Great addition, Dr. Gill.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions from the special ed committee for Dr. Gill? And that's call Mrs. Myrina, since she's on the call.
No, I'm good. No, I'm all good. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Gill. I'm going to pass this on to Mr. Cranny for the finance committee.
I think 7.1 monthly fiscal updates, Mr. Altmeyer.
Thank you very much. There are a few things that I would like to update the board on. I think first and foremost, well, April 1st was yesterday, and we began the launch of Skyward, not April Fool's Day. I'll tell you what, a couple weeks ago, we had over 25, 30 administrative assistants here at district office in 180. We got them up and trained on purchase orders and using the basics of Skyward. And I will tell you that there was overwhelmingly a lot of excitement when they left, because they see how user-friendly the system is, and how much easier it is to enter a purchase order, for example, in this system versus the old system we had. So I think there's a lot of excitement. Today, we had over 20, maybe 25 different purchase orders entered into the system. We processed our first batch through the system today. So the team upstairs is already up and running, and the team on the front lines, they're already, entering POs, and we're using the system from a financial perspective. On the payroll perspective, April 10th will hopefully, knock on wood, we're all hoping that things go very smoothly, but over the last, several weeks, months, the HR team combined with the payroll team have been working very hard, spending hours on calls, implementation calls, to get the system up and ready to do payroll for April 10th. And so today they actually ran a small payroll, and all went very well. So over the next several days, Monday and Tuesday of next week, we're going to continue that process to make sure that we have no hiccups, and that it's seamless, and that everything goes as smoothly as we expect it to go. So Skyward, so far, going very well. It's been very hard and challenging, and I'm sure it will continue to be, but for right now, it's going really well. So did want to share that with the board. In addition, we did get our final tax computations, and that's we received that from both Kane County and McHenry County over the last few weeks. I mentioned at the last meeting that McHenry County had indicated that new construction came in at $76 million, and that includes an overlap. And that overlap is, well, what Kane County's new construction was. Well, we waited, and the reason I didn't want to sign off and confirm, because on each tax computation, you need to actually sign off and send it back to the county saying, I agree with your numbers. But I hesitated to do that, because without having Kane County's numbers in hand, I need to validate that they both agree with each other. Well, when I received the Kane County new construction number, it was not the same as what McHenry had. So unfortunately, new construction came in at the preliminary estimate of about $60 million, not $76 million. That's what I was hoping for. It would have been great. But it did come in at $60 million, which is still great. EAV for the county went up 10.4%, primarily driven by that $60 million of new construction, combined with other just assessment changes. And the tax rate for the taxing district, the operational tax rate for the taxing district, went down 4.4 from $4.08 per $100 to $3.90. Again, primarily driven by increasing assessed values with the community, which is a good thing. So I did want to bring the board up to speed on that. And then lastly, just a quick reminder for next week's Finance Committee fiscal workshop. Obviously, all the board members are welcome, but this is a fiscal workshop to really kind of do a deep dive into the district's fiscal situation. I'll be sharing a lot of different things that maybe you have seen in the past, maybe you haven't seen in the past. We'll also talk about potential funding opportunities and really begin the discussions for the tough decisions, right? The difficult and challenging decisions that we have ahead, so that we can lay that foundation, so that from an administrative standpoint, we know the direction we need to take, and certainly from a communication standpoint to the board as well as the community, if we need additional, community fiscal workshops ahead, we could talk about that as well at next week's meeting. So next week's meeting, starting at 6 o'clock, fiscal workshop. Looking forward to it. I always love presenting. I get to talk as much as I want because it's my workshop.
Can hardly wait.
It's gonna be great. So be excited. With that, that's all I have for the fiscal update. Any questions?
Any questions from the committee?
Not so much a question. So the SDS software that we've had, I remember back in 2008 that there was the Finance Advisory Committee, the old FAC, and there was conversation with that group about migrating away and getting a new software package. So we have managed to use the blood out of the turnips by having that software in place since that first conversation back in 2008. Been that long.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
and the software's been around longer. It's just when the FAC, the people on the FAC at that time spoke about doing replacement on this, and that can has been kicked down the road for that long period of time.
Yeah, and I remember coming in and saying that this is our financial software, because coming from corporate, they have different ERP systems that do so much more. But also at the same time in 2008, 9, 10, right, we all remember the financial struggle. And at the time, 17, 18 years ago, we were only paying about $5,000 a year for the use of SDS.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not much more than that today, right? Skyward's actually not much more than that today, but obviously we're paying a lot more for that. The cost is for the implementation, right? To get it up and running and the training and everything else involved. So, yeah, we've been able to squeeze everything we can, certainly out of SDS. It's done a good job for us. They were good partners, very good partners over the last 18 years, but we are pretty excited to move forward and see what this system can do for us.
Thank you for that.
Anything from the rest of the board?
Mark, I have a question about the disbursements report. Can you just help me understand at what point on the disbursement report, what is the threshold for a line item to come to the board? So, for example, I see under CDWG, there are 2 items that are over $250,000, and a total of $811,000 in the last month.
Correct. So 2 things. That's probably technology. It's probably our Chromebooks. It's probably our laptops. And technology, generally, we don't bid technology because it's what we use. It's an exception to the state code. That is generally, it comes to the board for purchase order approval. So there's 2 opportunities where the board has an understanding, and it'll really be part of the fiscal workshop as well, is when we bring the budget to the board and we understand that, hey, we set aside $1.1 million for new laptops and Chromebooks on an annual basis, the board is aware and approving, right, the use of those funds for Chromebooks and laptops. Then obviously it's usually this time of year for which we place next year's order for Chromebooks and laptops, totaling sometimes upwards over $1 million.
Sure.
So you're seeing part of that in the process. So you are actually approving it before we move forward via the purchase order approval. We do not bring it to the board for separate approval because it's not a bid, it's not a quote. and it's an exception to the bidding, code, state code.
Thank you for the clarification.
No problem. Any other questions?
Okay. We'll move to 7.2, payables.
Nothing to add.
Anybody have any questions? 7.3, revenue and expenditures report.
Thank you very much. You have in front of you the February 2026, 8 months ended financial executive summary. As we talk about every month, when you look at the first page, there's a lot of timing differences, right? You look at the operating, currently the deficit of a little over $3 million, and that is primarily driven by timing differences on revenue recognition as well as the payments of expenses. So if you look at the capital outlay line item, we talked about this, that's sitting at 100% utilized because the majority of those capital expenses were done over the summer months. And then when you look at the revenue line item, we're not really where we need to be on federal revenues, sitting at 47% this time of year because we're waiting on reimbursement from the federal government for a lot of different things, Medicaid, National School Lunch, as well as maybe the IDEA grant reimbursement. So there's always timing differences, so you're never really going to see on this front page a very smooth, trended 12-month profit and loss statement, so to speak. So on page 2, I would like to highlight February is typically the month where we pay the majority of our bonds. So it's a big cash flow month. On the very first line item, upper left-hand corner, you'll see we paid through UMB Bank $8.7 million of our $10.4 million of bonds. So we typically pay bonds in the months of February and August are the big months for which bonds are paid. So I did want to share that. Looking at health insurance, relatively, we had a pretty pretty good month. It's still pretty high at $1.1 million. But the last 2 months, those are probably the 2 of the lowest months combined that we've had in a very long time. We can only hope the trend continues, but we do know that we do have quite a few, about 70 large claimants in the pipeline, many of those of which are reoccurring. So we'll continue to keep our eye on that moving forward. But sitting at $11.5 million through February with a $16.25 million budget, we are still trending at this current rate at about $1 million over budget on that line item. Which when we share the next draft of the budget, we have reflected that and we have already kind of baked those numbers into the FY27 budget, which we'll share at the fiscal workshop as well. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on the February 2026 financial executive summary.
Questions from the committee?
Beautiful. One question about the bonds. When we have the meeting next Thursday, will bonds be part of your presentation?
Absolutely. In fact, we've got a special guest speaker in Bob Lewis coming to highlight a few possible funding opportunities that we'll talk through with the Finance Committee as well. So we will absolutely talk about our debt structure, and we'll talk about other funding opportunities.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to 7.4, the school bus bid.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me join the Finance Committee this evening. We have a school bus bid in front of you for 4 vehicles tonight. We haven't seen one of these in a few years because we've been working through the electric bus grant. So we're shifting gears here. As some of you know, we do own our fleet out there, so we need to maintain that fleet and replace buses as necessary. So what we're looking at tonight in the bid, we went out to bid for 2 54-passenger diesel or propane buses and also 2 14-passenger activity buses. Those are the white buses you see out here in the parking lot when you pull in. We have decided we'd like to keep these 2 and not trade in. They're over 10 years old, probably going on 12, both of them, when we purchased them a few years back. And they do a lot of our long-haul trips downstate, so it's a cross-country team, golf team, smaller teams go. And we've been running into some issues every now and then. Most recently this fall, we had an unfortunate breakdown. Were you there for that? We had an unfortunate breakdown about 2 hours away and had to send a rescue bus. So it's time to update those buses. They are used quite frequently. We would still use those, the newer ones we would put on the long haul. And then the recommendation we have tonight are for 2 new 54-passenger diesel buses. So we're seeing that shift. So I'd like to draw your attention to the memo. We went out for a purchase price and also a lease to own 5 years to 0 bid also. So you see those in front of you there. And our bus needs, they came out on the purchase price there. And that is a total for 2 buses and then 2 activity buses. That's the grand total. And they do have those warranties. So in the first section there, you're seeing what the purchase price would be. We would just pay outright. The second part there, you're seeing what the lease cost would be per year over 5 years. So you can see that that shifted to Midwest Transit. Southern Mobility is coming in with the 14-passenger activity bus, winning both of those, our recommendations. So we do have a shift, and Mr. Altmaier is going to guide us through this a little bit for our recommendation, and we're looking to do the 5-year lease. And one of the primary reasons we're looking to do that is we look at the annual budget. As we move forward, it does help us budget annually a little bit better than making that purchase up front. So for that fiscal year 27, there's going to be some cost savings in that initial budget. And Mr. Altmaier, if you have anything to add to the finance part of that, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I mentioned this at the last meeting. This is something we did back in the 2010, 11, 12 timeframe for a number of years, 6, 7 years. We were leasing buses. We were leasing buses back then because rather than purchase, using this example, right, these 4 buses at $536,000, right, which would be part of the FY27 budget. We can lease these, and they're 5 years to 0, and it's called an equity lease. So we do own these vehicles, and we will own these vehicles for $118,000 a year. The benefit of that is, well, that's approximately $418,000 of budget savings. That's $418,000 of cash flow savings that we could use to invest. Our current investment rate is anywhere from 3.6 to, and there was a little uptick this week, and I actually got a 4.2 CD, so that was good news. The interest on these leases is about 4%, which actually I was surprised when they came back, and the interest rate moving forward on these leases is about 4%. So the interest earnings that we're going to get are going to really offset a lot of the interest expense that we're incurring. So there's budget savings right out of the gate, about $418,000 for this year. And we'll continue to have budget savings each and every year, because I do expect that moving forward, the recommendation will be to continue to lease for a little bit until times are a little better. That said, I also had a discussion with Mr. Craddy on this. We have to remember that we do receive a transportation reimbursement from the state. And how the transportation reimbursement works, if you were to buy a $100,000 bus, I wish you could still buy a $100,000 bus, that's 73 passenger, you can't anymore, but let's just use that number because it's nice and round. We have to depreciate that over 5 years, and so the reimbursement on that bus would be $20,000 per year. So upfront, you pay $100,000, you get a reimbursement of $20,000 for the next 5 years. In this situation, we're talking about $500,000 and about $100,000. So we'll pay $100,000, a little over $118,000 this year in lease costs, and our reimbursement will be based on that $118,000. So 60% of $118,000, that'll be the reimbursement. And the other benefit of this is we're kind of matching our revenues with expense, our reimbursement with the expense. So it's a cash flow play, it's a budget play, but more than anything, it's a cash flow play to help us with our budgeting over the next several years. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions on that.
It sounds like total 5-year cost is a wash.
Correct. It's actually, when the interest rate came back, I was really surprised.
And gas buses are out these days?
Yeah, we do like our diesel buses, right? We don't have any gas buses in our fleet, so our mechanics are very familiar with diesel. We do have a very good mix. We have about 33 propane buses. We have the 8 electric buses, and then the remainder are diesel, 60 plus. And we feel that is a good mix, simply because, I would love to say, hey, let's continue to go propane, but the fact of the matter is you really can't drive propane buses downstate, because they're really hard to find a place to fill them up. So we have historically been a diesel bus district, and our mechanics are very familiar with us.
Well, I agree with the diesel concept.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
curious.
Oh, yeah, well, there are a lot of districts that have gone from diesel to gasoline for, similar reasons. They think they run a little smoother, they run a little better, they're a little quieter. But that's the reason we have 33 propane buses in our fleet, 8 electric buses. They're really quiet.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
You're on the committee.
So on the CDs, are those multi-year CDs then that are paying the 4%, or is it the short-term CDs?
Oh, that's on the investment side, not on the
Yes,
bus question.
yes.
Those, one of them was a multi-year.
Okay.
Some of them are short-term. Yeah, the short-term rates are not as good. The 1 years are more like 3.6 to 3.7. The 4.2 was multi-year.
That's why I was asking. Thank you.
Great point, though. But they did lock in 4.2, so that's good.
I'll take the 4.2.
It's more of a comment. It makes a lot of sense, Mr. Altmeyer and Dr. Zier. And I'm wondering if this also played, obviously a budget perspective, cash flow perspective. The other part of like the long game is the future reduction in enrollment. Seems like this is a safer bet for the long game anyway versus buying buses today that we might not need 5 years, 6 years down the road. So it seems like a wise.
So just to speak to, that enrollment, sometimes that necessarily enrollment goes down, it doesn't reduce our stops or our routes at the end of the day. So we may still be stopping in that same subdivision instead of, 50 kids on that bus, it may be 50 kids on that bus, so still need the bus at the end of the day. So I don't think we've, and we'll talk about enrollment projections here in a couple months, but I don't think we're quite to that point where it might deplete the fleet significantly enough based on that, because they're all making those stops, and there'll still be kids in most of those, or it'll shift to another neighborhood. That makes sense. Thank you.
I did have one more question. What is the wait time on those small buses?
I think they were going to be able to have, they were on the lot, I believe.
Okay.
So we would have them hopefully by the start of the year. And then for the diesel buses, we were very careful with the diesel buses, because what we find when you get into these buses to drive them, if you're of a shorter stature, sometimes it's tough to get down to that parking brake. So we had Midwest come out, and we tested a couple of these and it took it around the block, if you will, and let some of our drivers get in it. So we've had a difficult time with some of the buses we've gotten. They don't fit for everybody, and so that's one of the advantages here too, while we're looking at it, buses, while we took this one on a test drive, got some folks out there to look at it. So that was important to us too, the drivability, obviously being able to fill up. These will be buses that make runs downstate, being able to fill up downstate at a normal gas station with propane. You have to have a right connector and everything, and that may not be very accessible, and we would not send the electric buses.
I think 3 or 4 years ago, the manufacturers weren't making short buses. There was no profitability in it for them. So they kept the chassis, but they were using it for more SUVs and things like that, rather than manufacturing short buses. And so there was a shortage of short buses. There was a lot of demand from school districts because they needed to replace it. But it was just like a 2-year wait, 2-year plus wait. So it's good to hear that those are back in the marketplace and are more readily available than they were as recently as 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to have everything on the lot by August 1st. So that's what they told us. There's some things too, like in our bid, like they may have that down in Joliet, they may have that 54 passenger on the lot, but there may be something they need to add to it. We have a very specific bid that went out. We want to make sure we get everything that we put on that bid. So they may have something stock on there, and that they've got to add a couple of things. We may get it a little bit quicker. I think they felt like they weren't going to have to build. So that was the initial reaction. And that question for the larger buses.
No, I'm glad we'll be able to get it in shorter orders and have it wait. So thank you for that.
Are we trading in the old buses, or what do we do?
We don't have any trade-ins, this time around. We got rid of, I think it was 4 total when we did the, electric buses. That was actually part of the grant. You had to cut them in half, drill holes in the engine blocks and everything, and show proof that you did that. So I'm able to put them to send you the check for the grant. So it was 4 of them we've done in the last couple of years.
Okay, any other questions? We'll look to move that forward for the next meeting then. 7.5, McHenry County Regional Safe School Program, Ms. Lombard.
Sure, this is an annual item. Each year we look to extend our current intergovernmental agreement with McHenry County Regional Office of Education for their county regional safe schools program. So what we are looking for is board approval to move this for regular meetings approval to extend that current contract in intergovernmental agreement for the July 1, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. Just for those of you who have not worked with the Regional Safe School Program, the funding for all of these across the state of Illinois, there's grant funding, general state aid, and then part of that does come from school district fees. It had been a number of years that they had not raised the fees. Last year, they went from $40 to $45 a day, so just a $5 increase. There's not an increase being proposed for next year. And so again, we don't pay anything. If we did have any student participation in the program, we are invoiced on a monthly basis for the per diem of a $45 a day. And just a reminder that the Regional Safe School did move within the county this year. It is being held up in McHenry now. So looking at that, just looking again, I did a great service for our students. And again, some years we have students there and some years we do not. And so if there's any questions, I'll take those. Otherwise, looking just to move that on to the regular meeting for approval.
Mrs. Lombard, I did have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So our rate is staying at $45, and I might have missed part of what you were saying. We're supposed to be billed, if we send a student there, we are billed $45 per day, and what we're billed is covered by grant, or is it a wash?
No. So the funding for the whole, for the county to run this school, part of the county regional safe school, the regional office receives grant funding for that. There's general state aid for that. There's actually the regional safe school program is included in the Illinois state budget, but then part of the fees do come from each school district if there is participation. And we do have money set aside that we do budget for the use if we do need to use it there. So no, our funding, the $45 per day does not come specifically from grant funding. That's for the ROE to utilize for the full cost.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that for me. And then we've got, so I mean, I know legally we have to, we're participating in this, and I know this, the program is a great program. We've got, when it says we're extending the validity of the existing intergovernmental agreement, do you have access to like it looks like this is like an addendum that's just renewing, but we've got some new board members, and if need be, is there someplace they could see or we could see the existing full intergovernmental agreement, excuse me.
Yeah, I can reach out to the ROE on that. I know this has been decades of that. And so, I believe it was a few years back, we had looked at that, and what we provided, I can provide to everybody, is, what services do they provide? What is our responsibility in there? So, we can definitely reach out to make sure that we are, providing everybody what does that look like.
Yeah, just so that we're all on the same page as to, like you said, what our responsibilities are, and I know we approve this and we will move forward and it's important, but just to have that information handy for everyone to know what we're at. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we will look forward to moving that forward to the next meeting. Moving on to 7.6, Illinois Elementary School Association membership. Ms. Lombard.
Last month, we brought the IHSA membership renewal forward, and this month we have the IESA. So our middle school activities and athletics. There is a list of the state events that we do participate in. The majority of those are athletic. We also do participate in the Scholastic Bowl and the chess at the state level as well. And so this lists out, the memo lists out what are the annual membership and then what are the fees for participation at the state level. IESA is a little bit different than IHSA. There are fewer districts or schools that participate in the variety of different events, and so funding, while IHSA did not have an annual membership, IESA does. In looking at the fees from last year to this year, there was not an increase. Actually, for chess, it was a decrease by $5, but everything else remained the same, and it does provide a great opportunity for our middle school students to participate. So looking at this, we aren't charged these unless we do have students or a team going down. We do have some variety of postmarks that need to be done for letting them know if we are participating, and you see those dates on there. So looking to move this forward. If there are any questions, absolutely we'll try to answer those or get those answers for everybody. Otherwise, looking to move this to the April regular board meeting, and then we can have our middle schools move forward in registration.
Any questions regarding moving this forward?
I just had a question about, is golf an IESA identified sport? And if so, the reason why that would be on there?
Yeah, so based on participation, we've had golf previously, and it depends on if there are any students who are interested. If the students were to come forward to say, they ask for that, and it was kind of removed because of the participation there. If we had, say next year, some students come forward and want to participate in this, as long as we don't miss the deadline, maybe the student moves in and, this is part of their passion, we would absolutely be able to do so. Oftentimes we've had parents who would then take on that coaching role, and really there aren't meets for them to participate in, so it's really, the true state events that they could do. So if there was interest, we would, and we've had that on there certain years and other years just because of the interest we have now.
Thank you. And I was just wondering then, this could be such an opportunity for the student board too. So you've met with the middle schoolers to have that open discussion, like what activities would you want? Because if we don't ask the question, I don't think they're gonna come up with something on their own. Was that part of your discussion? It's more of a question for you, Nico and Emma.
Yeah, we did get feedback from students about activities. That was one of the questions we did ask, tying into our strategic plan. And there were the overall feeling that we have enough that there is a great diversity of different activities. It was one of the points of pride that students had about their school, but they did give some individual ideas. I think there's one idea at one of those schools about a coding club and some different ideas, and we did send that feedback to the
And with those clubs and organizations, what we want to make sure is that they are knowing, what is that process? If I find, 3 or 4 classmates and we have this interest and we know we have a sponsor who'd like to assist us with that, what do we do? Because they don't know what they don't know, and that's at the high school level as well, making sure that that's out there. One of the things for the athletic side of that is there is supposed to be an interest survey that is done, it's actually required, at the high school level, are there things that, people are interested in, how would we look at that? And so it is a conversation we have in our middle schools as well. And so that's why we've seen golf on there before. And again, it's just because it's not here, it's not a no. We just right now don't have any students who are interested in participating.
That does sound like there is an opportunity for them to bring up an interest. Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Move that forward to our regular meeting. Then we'll move to human resources. Mr. Ruth.
Thank you. We're going to review a little bit of Northwestern Wellness Screening Program, but in a matter of disclosure, I want to make certain everyone's aware that I sat on the many of the Northwestern boards, but I don't anticipate any conflict of interest here, but I probably would excuse myself from any discussion. However, I'll let you take it from there with that disclosure.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. This is our Northwestern Medicine Worksite Wellness Statement of Work proposal and recommendation. We've been working with Northwestern since 2017, so this goes way back, and you can see our data there. When Mark and I went school to school back in 2017 and promoted this, we got 33% people to do this. The numbers have gotten better since Mark and I stopped doing that. And so you can see we've kind of leveled out there in the upper 70s, which is pretty good. So what essentially comes from this, we in the fall on-site, and the on-site schedule is in the back of this memo. We set up a couple days here, a couple days at our larger school. Every building gets a day, and those folks who are on our insurance, the dependents are not included in this, so they can go in and get this 37-panel blood draw, essentially. And so they also have a portal that they go in through. Northwestern partners with CHC Wellbeing, and so in there, that is tracked through all the years. So if you've been here since 2017, you can see your vitamin D score if you've done it every year, all the way back. So a really nice tool that the district provides. This is also part of the ATA contract, where if individuals do the health screening, and they also provide human resources with proof of a physical, they get $25 off of their premium per month, their insurance. So there is a bonus to doing both of those items. So essentially with this, our price has stayed pretty steady. We started off at $120, and I'd have to go back to the books in 2019 why that dropped $10, but it did. But it stayed pretty steady. They keep telling me it's going to go up. They're not listening, but that is not what they presented this year. So pretty good. We're able to budget for that based on the participants that we've had. I would like to see that number go up. It's very useful. You go in, you get the draw by the end of the day or early next morning. You get your results, and you can actually push a button and send it right to your doctor. Your doctor can review that. There's also a screener set up in there. If there is something that is significantly a red flag, they will make a call to you immediately so you can get seek medical treatment. So it's a great resource that we have. It's been a great partnership with Northwestern. We're usually way out in front of this so we can get the dates we want scheduled, so we can work around institute days and things of that nature. We open it in September. You don't have to do it on site. You can go over to Northwestern and get it done. October, we come on site, and then by the end of November, we shut it down off site. And then you get a 3-month checkup, comes around in April. It's not the 37 panel, but they look at primarily on cholesterol. So a good follow-up if people take advantage of that too. So the recommendation would be to move forward with the Worksite Wellness Statement of Work for fall 2026.
Any questions? I'm very biased. Good job.
Appreciate it.
Recommend we move forward to the next board meeting.
Good to go. Okay. Item 9, building and grounds. Mr. Lindquist. Good evening, sir.
Hi, Mr. Troy. Thank you. A couple updates for the board. The Heinemann DX replacement project's pushed back to the week of May 25th due to the last snow day that we just had. Natural gas procurement update, but the market being projected to be volatile this coming winter on March 23rd. With the help of Mr. Altmeyer and Mr. Troy, we contracted the remaining 50% of our fixed NYMEX natural gas supply with Constellation for a one-year term, starting September 1st through the end of August of 2027 at 43 cents a therm. The FMX work order report, there were 426 work orders submitted to the O&M team this year, or this past month, with a resolution time of 3.14 days to turn over work orders. And with that, take any questions.
Just to give a little bit of background, Mr. Lindquist and Mr. Altmeyer, you guys can keep me honest. The conversation with our procurement agent in Constellation, the reasoning behind going and locking this in actually came from the Middle East. So some of the conflict that's going on right now is impacting natural gas prices. And there was a conversation that was had in order to fix this in for a short period of time. Hopefully this all will subside and we can have some sort of normalcy back. But in the interim, to avoid any kind of price spikes that would affect the district adversely, we made a decision. All three of us consulted and came to a decision of let's lock this in for a year and find some price stability rather than having to play the market on half of the stuff that we do.
The projections they were talking about were 65 cents a ton this coming winter.
And we're seeing already what's happened to gasoline and diesel fuel, so it's not a stretch that if that conflict continues and escalates, that gas prices natural gas prices would be affected in a similar fashion. So that's why we made the call. That's why we did it for a short period of time to safeguard the resources of the district. If I'm off on any of that,
100% right. Absolutely right. Thank you.
So that's the rationale behind this. It was just that additional nugget of information that really tipped the scales.
And I think the only new board member is Mr. Ruth. So every January we vote on a agent of the board to assist with these because it's a matter of how fast can you get this locked out before the price changes.
Do the same thing.
Yeah, perfect. I've done this in the past, but certainly just as a precursor, if anybody wants to step into the role, you're welcome to it. But with that joking aside, that's the background, Mr. Ruth.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome.
And the last thing, I would like to apologize for the warm boardroom. We haven't filled the chiller yet this year due to mild temperatures and some temperatures reaching the low 20s this next coming week. So we have yet to fill it. Thank you. Sorry for the inconvenience.
And that's good, right? Okay. Any questions on the report by Mr. Lucas? All right, Mr. Lucas, I don't see anything else on here, so thank you very much for your time, sir. Policy and legislation, item 10.1. Mr. Marino, are you okay with running this?
Yes. I apologize. Yes, thank you. So first, item 10, legislation 10.1. We have some legislation updates. Mr. Troy, you and I had the pleasure of attending the Illinois Association of School Boards Advocacy Day last Tuesday. I thought it was a great day. I think it would be great if we gave some updates. I'll go ahead and let you start, and people might be able to hear you better than me, and then chime in. So
I was going to let you run it because it's your committee, so you're welcome.
No, go ahead and start. That's fine.
Okay, all right. So, I did prepare a whole bunch of stuff here because it was an action-packed kind of a day, and it was truly a pleasure to be down there. So the day was divided in two parts. The morning was a Q&A session with different legislative leaders from both the House and the Senate, Some of the individuals, or here's the people that participated: the Illinois Deputy Governor for Education, Mark Torres, Senate President Don Harmon, Representative Jay Hoffman, House Leader, Representative Tony McCumbee, Illinois House Minority Leader, Senator Meg Loughran Capel, Illinois State Education Chair, and Representative Michelle Mussman, who is the House Education Chair. Also part of this was the IASB Director, and there were, Mrs. Maiorino, I'd say about 60 to 70 people from across the state, school board members who were in attendance.
Yeah, I believe they said about 74 school board members representing across the state, so it was well attended.
Right, and so the morning session was the Q&A with these different legislative leaders. Topics that were brought up had to do with Tier 2 pension reform, education-based funding, or the EBF model, fine-tuning that. Unfunded mandates was a big one. And then TIF reform was important for some school districts. We heard from one district in particular, if I remember correctly, they had a 50-year TIF in their district. And the school district has not been very pleased with it, but I don't know the history of that, but they were very vocal in seeking some sort of TIF reform to limit the time in which those TIF districts exist. And then another one that drew some interest from people was the House Bill 4416, which right now allows unemployment insurance for staff members that do not work in the summertime in school districts. And that has sparked, from what I gathered, quite a bit of debate on both sides of the issue. So that was a lot of the issues in the morning Q&A. Excuse me. In the afternoon, school board members met with individual legislators who represented their school district. Mrs. Maiorino, myself, and a gentleman named Alex Grados, who is a board member in Sycamore District 427. We met with Dave Syverson, who's one of the District 158 senators. He was extremely generous with his time. I expected that we'd be there 20 minutes maybe, have our say, and then, keep moving because he's got a busy agenda. He actually gave us 40 minutes of his time in the afternoon, and I was blown away by that. It wasn't just come in, here's our issues, and then keep going and move on. It was a good conversation, and we did discuss the EBF formula because we've been adversely affected by shifting from Tier 1 to Tier 2. We discussed unfunded mandates a little bit and Tier 2 pension reform. These are consistent issues that affect not just our school district, but every school district. But this was our chance to have a one-on-one conversation. We were also scheduled to meet with Representative Jeff Kiger, but he had some conflicts with his schedule. His committee meetings ran into overtime, and so unfortunately our meeting with him was canceled. I did send thank you notes to both representatives, or both the senator and the representative, to thank them for at least giving us scheduling time on their calendars, even though one of them we did not speak with. And then on a personal note, it was actually the whipped cream nuts and a cherry on top of my day. Is former board member Leslie Melendi. I ran into her. Dr. Berkey was downstate as well. Dave Johnson from the Village of Huntley, and Mayor Tim Hess, also from the Village of Huntley. I got to see those folks in action down in Springfield. That was kind of neat. Also, Kate Bell, who is on the IASB division leadership team with myself, and also Evelyn Meeks. Kate is from District 303. Evelyn Meeks is from the Harlem School District outside of Rockford from 122. It's just neat to see people out of the norm a little bit, or see them immersed in the same kind of environment that we're all trying to advocate for public education. We did some walking. We saw some people, obviously, and at the end of the day, it was a lot of time spent getting familiarized with what it means to be an advocate for public education and to step into the room and actually talk with people face to face and be able to ask those sorts of questions. So this kind of advocacy day hasn't been held since 2019. I'm glad I signed up. I'm glad I spent the time. IASB had a tour bus that went from the Downers Grove offices down to Springfield and brought us back, so I didn't have to worry about driving a car. It fit my schedule great. Left home at 4 o'clock in the morning, got back at 9 o'clock at night. And I never slept on the bus. It was always talking with somebody about something. Fantastic. So anybody else has an opportunity to do something like this, the next time it comes up, I encourage you to take an interest and take an active role in it. Also, I'm going to give a little plug to the Association of School Boards. They do have advocacy ambassadors. And while it is, I don't believe it's as active a role as what we enjoyed last week, I encourage people to be advocates for public education. It's made a difference. Being an advocate last week made a difference in how I'm approaching being an advocate ambassador, and so I'll be signing up here in the near future to be one of those people. Mrs. Myarina, I hope I didn't steal any of your thunder with all of that.
No, you did an excellent job recapping it. So I initially got involved with this all the way back at III conference. So I attended the breakout, one of the sessions on advocacy. And so I had been attending the meetings every month leading up to this and preparing for it. The Illinois Association of School Boards did a phenomenal job preparing us, kind of giving us worksheets to take a topic that was important for us and write up a presentation, and we were able to practice it like our little pitch. Senator Syverson was so generous and just so real that we didn't need any script that was prompted and prepared. The conversation flowed seamlessly from topic to topic that we brought up in his office. He shared a lot of insight with us. Our group, we tried to go in with more of instead of going in with like, hey, this is a list of problems or issues that we have, we wanted to come in with a suggestion, and that's kind of how we started things. Rather than bringing a problem, we went in with bringing a suggestion or a solution. And it just really set the tone for our meeting, and he spent a lot of time with us. His response back to my thank you note was, that he would continue to work on these things and to feel free to reach out to him with any other concerns. So I don't think that the dialogue ended that day. I believe that he is open to any conversation that we have. He would love to come and visit our district. He said, invite me anytime. He would be excited to do it, but it was just such an energetic day. There was a lot of different advocacy going on. I was not prepared for it. I thought it was really going to be just about education, but there were all sorts of different groups that were there. It was very, very busy. There was a lot of energy there, and I highly recommend it to anyone. It was an excellent experience.
And from a scheduling standpoint for these legislators, this was, I got the impression, and somebody mentioned it, but I didn't catch the details of it because I'm not familiar with their legislative cycle. But the week that we went is essentially their accountant tax day deadline type of week. And so that's why there are so many different organizations that were down there talking to the legislators, taking such an active role in advocacy for their own issue. That was also really fun to watch other groups be just as vocal and advocate for their cause as we were for public education. One of the other things regarding the Tier 2 pension reform, and this I give a lot of credit to the school board member, Alex, from Sycamore District 427. He suggested, and we did as a team, but it really was Alex deserves the credit for this. is why is Tier 2 not mirroring the state pension program for university employees, where there is an opportunity for employees to choose whether they have a 403B or whether they enter the pension system, how they fund their retirement. It is something that is actively in play with the university system for retirees or employees. But Alex's suggestion was, if it's working for those employees or for that segment of the employment force, why is this not being looked at for Tier 2 pension, or Tier 2 employees, pension employees? It was a very good suggestion, and that's what was even more rewarding about the experience is it wasn't just coming into the office and complaining to the senator, but saying, here's a possible solution. You guys can take a look at this, because it's working and it has been in place for a period of time, a long period of time. And then unfunded mandates, one of the questions that I had during the morning Q&A was, why aren't they more actively reviewed, whether they should continue or not, and even put in a sunset clause into a new unfunded mandate so that senators and representatives don't have to step into a time machine and look at 100 or more different unfunded mandates that have unfolded over the years. These legislators have the bandwidth to concentrate on what's in front of them, much less having to look back and analyze 30 or 40 years of unfunded mandates to figure out whether they're worthwhile keeping, whether they're obsolete, or somewhere in the middle. And so it was great to be involved in that particular forum. So that's just a couple more my thoughts on the matter. And then, and Mrs. Myrina already alluded to this, I wanted to ask the board if there's any objections with Superintendent Lombard or the two of us as the board president sending an open invitation to our elected representatives in Springfield. They do have offices in our area, whether it's Marengo or Hampshire or someplace nearby, but whether it's a specific opportunity for something that our district is doing or just a general open invitation is to have and invite these people to come visit our schools. We get a lot of visitors like us that come in and complain, and I think this is a wonderful opportunity to extend that invitation and say, come look at what great things we're doing here. Come immerse yourself in District 158 for a few hours, just as Tony Sanders did from the State Board of Education a short while ago. So that's kind of my pitch to you all is I'd like to do that, but obviously I don't want to do it alone or have Lombard do it. I wanted to do it so that the board is also part of that decision.
I have a thought for you.
Sure.
Joe Sanowski, was he involved in this?
I asked for a meeting with him, but it didn't happen.
On May 16th, Dave and Joe and Jeff are all three going to be in Huntley.
I heard that, yes.
And perhaps you could have a luncheon with them or something. They're here for another purpose, but I bet you could maybe corral them for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Does anybody have any questions for Paul or myself on our any additional questions on our advocacy day?
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Myrina and Mr. Troy. One question I had is, was there any discussion about the bill tied to cell phone usage in school? At that?
It was more during the Q&A. Myrina, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Martin Torres, the Deputy Governor, Illinois Deputy Governor for Education, that spoke on that a little bit. There really wasn't much Q&A around it. I think he was the one that did bring it up.
You are correct, Mr. Troy.
Go ahead, Mrs. Myrina. I didn't know you were continuing. I apologize.
Oh, no, I had just said it was a quick, there wasn't elaborate discussion, and I said Mr. Troy was correct on that.
that is one of the bills we're watching, closely because that would be a statewide ban. How the type of, storage spots, during the school would be up to districts, but, we are closely watching that because that would impact, we do have a policy that's out there, but this looks like it would even be more restrictive, of that component. Mr. Troy, you also brought up, the other one, the unemployment, that we're carefully watching there. As well as there's been some, conversation, and there's a number of bills that would be impactful, but those were two. And then, there's, some different things out there that are about screen time, start times for schools that we also want to keep an eye out to see if they, continue to grow. What does that do? Because that would have impacts on, all of the work that we do here as well. We talked about the unfunded mandates, and it was trying to look back at the ISBE newsletters. But recently there was a conversation that they've started their mandate committee, so they are going back to review. There's been a lot of mandates that haven't been reviewed in a long time. So the state board has a committee that is starting to review those. Hopefully some of those will come off as others have been coming on to review what that looks like. And then wrote down that May 16th date. Joe's been involved in quite a bit with the district. Actually, one of coworkers was at the state of Huntley, and he was hoping to have been there. He does a lot with certificates for student achievement and things that he's been seeing, and then David and Jeff as well. And so we can reach out. We'll have, if everybody's okay, we'll have that personal invitation. I think a handwritten letter. I was hoping to have a draft of that after we talked on Tuesday night. A couple of things had popped up, so I'll email that out. If the board's okay, then we can get that and have people sign that. Just that kind of handwritten invitation, open invitation, I think goes a long way. But I know that all three of those individuals are very supportive of the district. It's been a little while since they've come out to do tours or some things like that, so we are more than willing to build that relationship, make sure that each and any of you who want to meet with them and be part of those things, I think it does go a long way.
I agree. That's going to be a long task to go back and look at some of those mandates and seeing how many are duplicates and if some need to be sunset. That's going to be quite the task. But I'm glad that that conversation is happening. Senator Syverson even agrees. He said, at some point, how are we going to fit all of these mandates into a school day? We would have to extend the school day in order to meet these requirements and still teach our fundamental curriculum. So something has to give. And it was nice to hear that he understood that and supported our district. So I think good things are coming on that. So
one more thing that was to add, and it was kind of curious to hear, is when every one of those representatives and the deputy governor spoke in the morning, only one of them admitted or stepped forward and said, before I came here to represent people in Springfield, I was a school board member. And that was Senator Meg Capel. And I believe she was in special education as a teacher before being elected to the school board and then subsequently serving downstate in Springfield. So she has that unique perspective of having sat in these seats, having sat in a staff seat to understand the impacts of unfunded mandates where other representatives come from different life paths and don't necessarily understand or appreciate how the piling on effect hampers school districts with funding to deal with things they have to deal with as opposed to the things that they really need to and want to deal with. So it was interesting to hear that perspective as well. I've heard her speak at the III conference, and so it's good to hear that they're going to continue to chip away at the backlog of unfunded mandates. Where that goes. Melissa, go back to you, go ahead.
Yep. Well, hearing nothing else on 10.1, go ahead and move forward to 10.2. Dr. Zier for a resolution and policy amendment.
Good evening. Have a proposed resolution and policy amendment in front of you that centers around the Affordable Care Act. What we're potentially running into here in the future is when folks retire from the district and they return as substitutes within the time period. For example, if they would retire in June and they would come back to us in August, they have not been broken off from employment for us for 26 consecutive weeks or 6 months. So they do qualify for health insurance if they were on our plan at the time of retirement. So this is something we're putting in place. It would give us that buffer where folks could still come back and stuff for us, but it would have to be 26 consecutive weeks from the break of their employment, where you're looking around, if it's a traditional retirement, looking around December, probably the second semester in January, and we'll be able to let those folks start subbing again. This is more of a future protection for the district. As we know, over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a significant amount of retirements, and many of those folks would probably want to come back and sub for the district. Protection to put in place for the future. Folks are definitely welcome to come sub. After the retirement, there would just be a little bit of a break in service there.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the committee?
Dr. Zier, is there an opportunity for a former employee to be a sub and to decline health insurance?
Yeah, they could decline it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this would only apply to if they...
They would have to have been on the insurance at the time. So at their time of retirement, so if they're on our insurance right now and they retire at the end of the school year, and if they would come back in August, we would have to offer the insurance. Excuse me. We just have to make the offer.
Okay.
Keep in mind with ACA.
Any other questions from members of the board?
I'm
Okay,
just-
hearing, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I'm just reading the language, and I don't know if that's... The language says that, just for everyone watching, the language says, it should be the policy of the district that former employees shall not be eligible for reemployment within the district until a minimum of 26 weeks have elapsed.
In a substitute capacity.
But they could come back,
Yes, they could come back like as a paraprofessional or,
they could come back as a sub, they just can't come back as a sub and also have health insurance.
well, so once that 26 weeks would expire, they could come back as a sub, they wouldn't be eligible for health insurance.
Okay.
I think the way it's written there is stating that we're, even if, so if, say it was, I'm willing to come back, but I won't take the insurance, can I start subbing? I think this, protection puts us in because we have to offer it once they're hired back as the sub, and then they
Okay.
say yes. So this is just putting the
Understood.
protections in place. But yes, that's exactly how you're reading that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and if we outsource this, like our friends to the east do, then it wouldn't become an issue because they're employed by completely different entities.
Yeah, that would not be an issue.
But that's not what we do, which is why this is the step that we have.
Correct, that is correct. Yes, all they're working for a different company.
Correct.
Working for the district.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, any additional questions? Okay, hearing none, then we will move that forward and move on to 10.3. Mrs. Lombard, we've got a review of policy 7:130.
Thank you. 7:130 is the students' rights and responsibilities. There have been quite a few discussions, not just after the most recent, but after the last few different protests slash walkouts that have occurred. And so wanted to bring the policy how it's stated, currently to the board, just for discussion and direction in terms of looking at, is this something that the board feels that there needs to be some modifications to, clarifications to? Would that belong here in the policy? Would that belong in the student handbook or in potentially an administrative procedure? We could draft an administrative procedure to go along with this policy. Currently, there is not one. And there's been two discussions since some of those have happened. One with the principal leadership, student council there at the high school, and one we did some activities and conversation with the PTAC last month. And not surprising, at the PTAC, we don't have any recommendations per se moving forward right now because one, it was a smaller group having discussion, but there's views on all sides of that. And looking at, one, when we're talking about these, not to look at any violations of students' rights and things like that, but this is talking more about those, any active participation that would violate the rights of others or violate school rules and policies that are currently in place. And so we had a really robust conversation, but it's not enough, right? There has to be some further. And so looking, and in a moment, I'll turn it over to Nico and Emma, and you guys can share a little bit of the conversation that took place that next week with the students there. And that's a larger representation than that was at the PTAC. Some of you were there for that. But looking at really should there be some direction from the board about any parameters of what that looks like during the school day? We talked about there are places where no is no, it doesn't happen. Is that there are times that have been set where they may work with administration to talk about their thoughts, and maybe it's collaborative that it can happen from this time to this time, and here's what it would look like. Or let's have discussion of, are there other opportunities or other ways that you can have those discussions rather than, in a walkout format and all of that. And so, again, there are a variety of different perspectives on that. So I wanted to start that conversation, but before turning it over to the board, Nico, would you mind sharing a little bit about that conversation? None of us up here were there, and would love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this occurred on one of our Lake Start Wednesdays at the Principal Student Leadership Council, and just for Mr. Ruth, a bit about that group. It's a group of individuals that apply to be on Dr. Beelan's Leadership Council. The application is open to everyone, a very diverse group of students from all sides.
About 70 students, is that right?
About 70 students. So during this meeting, we were in group tables, and we had a discussion with a prompt from Dr. Beelan about student expression during the day, the thoughts about, should this occur during the school day? Should this not occur during the school day? And this feedback is from the students themselves. I will say that there was a lot of diverse perspectives, a lot of different thoughts. This is just trying to encapsulate what the majority of the group said. This is not my opinion. This is the majority. Students do generally agree that student protest should be allowed, but a majority of the group, not the entire group, agreed that they should be held out of school as a way to have students that truly care about the issues and participate, and not use it as a path to skip class. And it will truly have the students that are passionate about that. There was conversations about the communication around leading up to the protest. I know on the administrative side, there's different perspectives. Do we acknowledge it? Do we not acknowledge it? But students wanted more communication advance about what the consequences were going to be if you participated in this. And there was also a bit of just confusion with the consequences that did get handed out after the fact with underclassmen versus upperclassmen, why did you go to this level of consequence when our handbook says, first offense is this? So there was some confusion also, like when those consequences of the detentions were served, there was kind of a lot, and it was a bit chaotic with the group. And then overall, students did agree that the text updates were great throughout the protest, but that there is consequences if you go off campus, because just like any other time, if you skip class, you skip class. If you go off campus, you go off campus, and there's consequences for that. But overall, there were some great conversations, and this is not the last conversation. There is going to be more conversations held about this.
And Nigoi, I know a lot of that was centered around the most recent.
Yeah.
However, this is just in general. And so, when we look at, and I think that when I look at the language in the policy, you know, it does talk, about, subject to disciplinary measures. It's kind of vague here, but specific, or maybe that specificity should belong in the handbook to be a little bit more
Yeah.
clear. Is that what they're asking?
And then, like, in advance of maybe something that could occur. Another idea, when we are on just the topic about student rights in general, while it is covered in our social studies classes, students would like maybe during a Greater Way lesson at the beginning of the year to go over what does it look like to have student voice in Huntley High School and Huntley 158, and what are your rights as a student. And then I think that could also be applicable to our middle school groups. And then the other ask was, just similar to the extracurriculars, how does a student, if they were want to have approach the topic of a potential protest or walkout, how does one go to that for the admin and just the process around that? Yeah. Clarification on it.
So I think that directs us a good leeway here, into, is that the route, right? That it should be discussed with, administration setting up those parameters? Do we need to still continue to get more voice around this topic before determining, you know, next steps with any of that? But I definitely want to open that up to the board.
I just feel this needs some enhancement. However, wouldn't it be prudent to put something in place now, knowing that you may have changes rather than have nothing?
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think that the on-campus part is probably pretty important to put in there somewhere, because we're just in an unfortunate situation that we do not have sidewalks leading in and out, and there have been some accidents on that street. So something we would obviously like to avoid. The one question I have is, maybe I'm not understanding, so maybe you guys can educate me, but students may, during the school day, during non-instructional time, I mean, what would be considered non-instructional?
Before and after school. And paragraph 1 and 2 are, well, it's in the same policy. I think they are talking a little bit different topics on there, but the non-instructional would be the before or after school time. Could be during lunch, but that's instructional for some students,
Yeah.
right? So especially when we're looking at all of those.
And if I remember correctly, the legal definition of a school day, as far as the hours, start time of school to the end time of school, I even remember midnight or until midnight of the end of the year. The legal definition of they consider for school day is not necessarily the hours of school. It was weird because it didn't make sense, but I remember that from my legal class.
I know one of the things when we think about the school day in terms of discipline, like starts at the bus stop, from the time they pick up to the time they drop off. So if there was an altercation or something happened at that bus stop while they were waiting, that's still part of the school day, part of the school, jurisdiction. So I know it's not for what we're talking about here, but yes, it does extend past the time that they're in the building.
Right.
So, and maybe I'm looking through my notes, my apologies. I remember at our parent-teacher advisory committee, we kind of talked about ways to control this, and I don't think, how do I want to word this? I think parents need to be very clear that we can put whatever policies we want in place, but parents need to also realize we legally cannot stop children from like walking out of the building. I mean, we can just, well, technically, I guess we're not supposed to discourage, but I'm very leery about putting any kind of parameters or what's acceptable for any kind of protest or walkout, because I think it puts us at a higher level of risk. Again, I'm not encouraging walkouts and saying we should just make it a free-for-all, but I also think that communication needs to go to families, because we need to partner with families to understand the conversations that they need to have with their students, what their expectations are. I think our policy, our handbook, our student handbook, should have this clearly outlined expectations and clear consequences, so everyone is on the same page, and it's like almost like it stands alone, because like I've said, I don't think that last protest and that last walkout is the only one. I think there's going to be just the next topic that people want to voice their opinions on, or participate in some sort of civic engagement. And we have to communicate, I think, with families and make sure that we're working together as a district and with families.
Mrs. Savarino, I know when you talked about that, kind of clearly outlining that, and some of the discussion that happened at the PTAC, where might that belong? And if I recall correctly, some of that was how do we outline that and can update that in the student handbook, that maybe it belongs there, and that we will be bringing that here in the spring as well. Because one of the things we want to definitely make sure that everybody understands is there's a discipline for expression. But if it is violating a school rule like going off campus or skipping class or something like that, that's where, and Nico, that might be a little bit of some of the confusion of there was, right? Our freshmen and sophomores don't have off-campus privilege, and so they may have had the consequence issues from that. Maybe it wasn't their first, and so maybe they had a higher consequence that were going on, and so it's not about that expression, because that is, we have rights there, and what does that look like? There's, the difference between passive and active, and what is that disruption? Those are where some of the disciplinary components come. So it's that violation, and so there has to be some things that are put into the handbook to help understand that, because again, it's not about the rights of
Yeah, that's what I
everyone.
think just needs to be clarified with like off-campus and attendance-wise with policies, so that students have that clarity when the topic is and if it is approached again. And I think also not just having it in the handbook, I think it being communicated to students and families.
Oh, absolutely, right, when we talk about some of those
Not every student
things.
knows to go check the handbook
Sure.
before.
Well, they sign it, but yes, I understand. They're not reading all those pages, but when we're talking about, especially at the very beginning of the school year, we talk about the discipline component of that, and then changes to the handbook. But there's a lot of information that first week of school, and how is that reminded either or throughout the component. So thank you, good point there.
Well, to add to that piece, because I agree with what you're speaking to, Ms. Lombard at the parent-teacher advisory committee, as well as what Mrs. Myrino was speaking to, is that, you know, when I look at the policy itself should be broad. It's the handbook is where the details, like the actual procedures of how we do this. And from what I recall in those discussions at the parent-teacher advisory committee, in addition to those details, and something you just said, Nico, kind of triggered this thought too, is if there was an imminent, say, protest where people are walking out, it should say, you need to follow the handbook. It should say, here's what the handbook actually specifies, what will happen if you leave, not follow the handbook. And that was the feedback I heard at the PTAC as well. So I think that key, which you hit on, is the details are going to be in that handbook, not so much this policy.
I mean, on that note, too, having parents sign off on that, and to have the students sign off on that and know exactly what they're doing. What are you protesting about? I mean, half of them didn't even know. I mean, maybe not half, I don't know. But I mean, the 2 students that I encountered from District 300, they had no clue what was going on. And they were, I mean, even the one on the news that was on WGN or whatever, the parents had no idea. And so it's just like, I mean, I don't know if it should be off the table to put a hard stop on, like, you know, we're just not going to do these. If you're not agreeing with either side, it's just, you know, find one on the weekend or something, or where it doesn't interrupt school or disrupt anything, because that was a huge disruption. But that's just my thoughts. But on board with the parents, like Ms. Myrino said, I think is huge.
And I think it was Mr. Bobby, to your point, there is that difference between our policy and the handbook, and the policy being broad. And I think the way that the policy reads is proper. I mean, that last sentence there, students who violate the rights of others or violate district policies or rules will be subject to disciplinary measures. And it picks up at the handbook. But I think it's, you know, to hit it home, that students and families are aware that, okay, policy ends here, now this is our handbook that outlines those details. And making sure that people are aware of both policy and the handbook. You hit the nail on the head, Mr. Bobby, with that.
So to me, I think the organization of such a protest really is the key. Because if it's not something that is notified or brought to administration, you have 2 kids that decide they're going to go off campus to go to lunch, and they return, and you ask them, why did you leave the campus? Well, we were protesting that there's no chocolate milk in the cafeteria. But really, there was no formal protest of anything. This happens to be a big issue that makes national and international news. But in theory, you can protest anything and walk off campus, and there should be a consequence. Just take out the protesting, because artificially somebody could invent a protest. Now all of a sudden you have a situation where you mask what the action was by using convenient language that fits a narrative in order to change the outcome of it, if that makes any sense.
Right, and that's why we really wanted to stress if this is what's being issued, it wasn't, not a topic, it's not that, it's a violation of,
Sure.
specifically, and that way, right, it's not a later, oh, but this is okay because.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, and I don't want it to be a convenient reason to mask the behavior.
So we can work on some language with that to bring forward with the handbook. We've got some time with those, so if there's other thoughts that come up, please let us know. We can continue that conversation. Nico, thank you for sharing the student feedback on that, because I do think there are, you know, different, and at different times. 5 years from now, there may be different thoughts. And we definitely want to help our students when we think about, you know, the portrait of our learner and all of those pieces. There are parts about, you know, their engagement, but are there other opportunities? Sometimes they don't know, oh, could we have a forum? Could we have, a debate, could we have served something during lunch? And to be able to have that, that discussion, because there are other ways to also, talk about, different issues that are coming up. And so I think that, that's good, feedback. Again, if lots of notes here, we'll start to craft some of that, and bring that forward when we look at the handbook, based on that. Because the more I read this, if we made changes to this, anytime we made a change then in the handbook, we'd be coming back to the policy. So I think that's where the policy is drawn, and then it's really being able to specify what are those violations of, the school leaving campus or leaving class, and things like that.
And also, as I learned with we know this intuitively by living our lives, but by participating in the advocacy day, it's also the unintended consequence of a good, in those cases, it's a good meaning resolution to put something in place, and yet, what is the unintended consequence? And I look at this similarly as where to put this, you're right, correctly, so that there is no unintended consequence, and looking beyond just the letters that are on the page, but looking at it a little bit deeper so that there's no adverse effect.
Hey, so Evan, do you know, is there another one of the principal meetings before the end of the year?
I believe Dr. Gillen said that we were going to have another meeting about this before the end of the year.
I'll double check with him on when that might be, because maybe we could have some drafted language that students could look at. And in general, just not around just this, but on discipline, because we have heard that from the two of you of some of the concerns or the consequences, or so we had some public comments, and so some of the things that we are going to update with discipline, maybe you'd be open to letting us present some of that to the 70 students there to be able to get some feedback on as well.
Could all this be accomplished before the start of next year's school?
Yes.
Okay, so, Mrs. Murray, Mr. Troy, from a committee standpoint, we are not looking to make any changes to 130, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, the rest of the board is also on board with this?
Yes.
Okay, all righty. Thank you. Then I think we can close out legislation and policy and move on to number 11, community relations, and Mrs. Murray.
All right, thank you. Ms. Barr, hand it over to you.
Thank you. So I did do a memo for the board, just with some updates on what the communications department, some of our priorities and our functions and things like that. And I won't go through all of that in detail. It was somewhat similar to last month, but I did want to just mention the school messenger contract. It's really going to be a renewal with them. We've been working with them. School messenger is our mass notification system for text, phone, and email. It was acquired by PowerSchool, and it's one of the reasons that we decided to adopt it. So far, so good with that. I will say that this year was a little bit bumpy with customer support. They've had a lot of turnover, and that makes me want to do 1 year at a time, because that makes me nervous. And so the plan right now they're bundling school messenger services with PowerSchool overall, not separating it out. And so I think they're giving us a pretty fair deal, and just hoping that they're going to be making some changes. I know internally they are making some changes, so we'll watch and learn. It's been a reliable system for us without any issues, and the cost is. So wanted you all to be aware of that, and wondered if you guys had any questions or comments about that. Then we'll do another year. And then also, I just wanted to highlight that kindergarten registration is in full swing. And this year, we're trying to assist with registration and trying to encourage early registration. The comms department is. So we created some flyers in English, Polish, Spanish, sent them out to local preschools, churches. I'm hoping pediatrician offices too. I do have a contact over at Northwestern, and maybe Mr. Roos does too. But thought that would be good, just to try to reach those folks that we can't always reach because they're not yet part of our school district. So the library, the village, they've been good about it too. So I think that's an important part of our process. We'll continue and hope that it yields some good results. Also, there are some big kindergarten events happening real soon. So on Monday, actually, April 6th, this Monday, we've got the first of our dual language meetings for incoming kindy parents, and then the next day, there's another virtual session as well. So we're encouraging any parents who want to consider dual language for their kindergartner to attend one of those two meetings. And then the big one, which is, it's Tuesday, April 14th, it's the kindergarten sneak peek. So that's where prospective families can actually go and meet the staff, tour the school, and all that kind of stuff at their home school. So that's kind of exciting, and it's different this year. So I think we've done it that way in the past, but we're excited to return to that. I think it's a great opportunity for our families to connect with the home school before the summer begins. So just wanted to say that out loud and make sure we're promoting it, and we will again. And then finally, we have an event on Tuesday, I do want to mention too, which is part of the Family Learning Series that Special Services does, but it's a big one. So I know Hall is organizing that, and it's with Jackie Rue. She is a licensed clinician, clinical social worker, Dee, am I right on that?
Licensed clinical social worker.
Okay, who runs the Center for Emotional Wellness, and she will be doing a virtual talk with parents about anxiety in kids, and I've heard her speak on this in the past. We did it in my previous district. She's really, really good, so I hope that we'll get some parents to join that. It's a good topic across the board, so I wanted to mention that as well. And then I want to leave you all with this. We're excited to introduce to you the first sort of introductory video to our Portrait of a Learner series. So our hope with this series is that we will take a deep dive into each of those attributes, those characteristics that have come out of the Portrait of a Learner, to show it in action and how it's being done well in our schools. So this is just a way to kind of introduce the series, and then we will, what we'll dive into first is the Empowered Learner, and that'll be coming out soon. But I thought this is about a 2-minute video. I'd show it here real quick. Sorry, 1 minute.
In Huntley 158, everything we do begins with one question. What do we want our students to be able to do when they leave our school? Over this past year, our district has taken a big step towards answering that question. Together with students, staff, families, and community members, we developed a framework called the Portrait of a Learner, a shared vision of the skills, mindsets, and attributes we want every student to possess. From our youngest learners at our early childhood program to our high school graduates and students in our life program. Our Huntley 2030 journey began in the fall of 2024 by listening to the individuals at the heart of our work, our students.
Students like me across the district came together to discuss and share our thoughts and ideas about our educational experience. Our voices helped shape what success should look like for every Huntley 158 student.
From there, we expanded the conversation. We met with staff, families, and community members, and formed a guiding team of about 50 stakeholders. Together, we discussed what matters most for our students and the skills and attributes they'll need most for future success, whether they continue their learning, enter the workforce, or join the military. Over several months, the guiding team reviewed feedback, identified themes, and helped shape the portrait of a learner and the priorities that now guide our new strategic plan.
At the center of this work is the Portrait of a Learner, which provides a clear picture of what it means to be a Huntley 158 student. According to our Portrait of a Learner, our students are future-ready individuals, skilled communicators, empowered learners, critical thinkers, and engaged, responsible citizens. These aren't just words on a page. They represent the knowledge, skills, and character traits that we aim to instill in all of our students, in all of our classrooms, every single day.
The Portrait of a Learner is the foundation of our strategic plan. Huntley 2030, Building Tomorrow Together. And it drives the work we do every day at the district office, at our schools, in our classrooms, and even in our homes. In this video series, you'll see examples of what the portrait of a learner looks like at all ages and stages.
There's one thing that we know for sure, is that when we work together
And keep our focus on students.
we build a future where every learner is ready for what comes next.
Thank you. I have to give credit to communications specialist Kimmy Moore. I come up with the vision for these things and sometimes the plan around it, and then she executes it beautifully. So she's talented with animation, graphic design, and video. So thank you. Any questions? Anything of that?
Does Mrs. Lombard get a stipend for
Yeah,
actress?
she does. No.
She's really good at these.
She said she wanted to show it, I'm like, I can't watch myself.
And then there's
Part of the
Nico.
deal.
Throwback.
And Dr. Hill now. So the video's aged a little bit, right?
Well, that was from last year, strategic planning footage. So yes, it's been about a year and a half.
No, nice job though. Really nice job.
Thank you. I'll pass it along to Kimmy as well.
Please do.
All right. That's all I got here.
All right.
Mr. Troy?
Well, moving on to Board of Education as a whole, resolution 2006-01, Mrs. Lombard.
So we talked about this a little bit in the past, but here we have a resolution looking at, I think it's chunked into a couple different parts, but the approval of 47 of the executive closed session minutes from a variety of years. Some were a little more recent, but looking at, going down the resolution here one moment. But looking for approval of this resolution, which would approve the 47 executive closed session minutes. Some of these were minutes that were taken from the previous board secretary or board or assistant board recording secretary under either a former superintendent or during the interim superintendent year. There were a number of 19 closed session minutes from a previous date under the superintendent or interim, and then again that board secretary or board recording where these minutes were typed, however they had not come forward for that signature. And then there were 3 from the year 2020, if we remember that year, from the recordings, 3 recordings that needed to be reviewed, and then typed minutes from those. So looking at that, this resolution, section 4, would, if move forward and adopted, approval of that would be approving all 47 of those closed session minutes. So any questions or discussions around that?
So, and I know I'm the one who kind of talked about these minutes not being approved, and we've been looking at this resolution. Something that needles at me is the word approval. And I know there's that by law we have to approve these, but when I look at the dates of some of these, how are we supposed to, or is the rest of the board comfortable with approving minutes that we really can't attest to the accuracy of them? Like, and it's one thing when a new board comes in, such as May of 2025, and we did approve minutes from before we were on the board, and you take that leap of faith that this is so close, and we had 4 members on the board that were approving, that were already on the board, and we're approving those minutes. You take that leap of faith because it's very close. But just for the record, it needles at me that word approval of minutes that we can't verify the validity or accuracy on. So, and I don't know if anybody else shares that or doesn't think it's anything significant. I'm looking, I guess, for feedback from fellow board members.
In my experience, we have done similar things titled Improved Prior Acts of the Board. So that's our loophole, and I'm comfortable with it as one.
Yeah, I understand that your sticking point is that one word, but I think the opening sentence for each section is that the board acknowledges, and that it goes through the information of the purpose of doing this or discussing it. So I think the approval is word that's necessary because you're either approving it or you're not approving the minutes. There is no middle ground. To me, it's a black or a white issue or a binary decision. So we are acknowledging that this existed. We're acknowledging a whole bunch of stuff and saying, to the best of our knowledge, this is the action that we're taking to right the ship and start with a clean slate. Because otherwise,
Okay.
it lingers and continues to be.
Right now, and I'm good with that, as long, like, that we've had, this conversation, on the record in open format, really focusing on that acknowledgement, even though it's titled, the resolution regarding approval, but outlining that, so.
So to clarify, I guess, Mr. Troy, you know this, is the approval of minutes required by law? So at some point, you can't just not approve minutes for decades. At some point, it'll keep coming up, and whether it be this board or another board 10 years from now, there has to be someone that's officially, not someone, a board that officially says, all right, we'll officially approve this resolution so it's solved on those cases.
Correct, and that's how I understand it. Yes, correct. Because the next part of this discussion becomes, we, members of the board, the president and secretary traditionally, review the closed session minutes every 6 months. Say, yes, enough time has passed where we are going to release these to the public, or these stay, there's enough detailed information where it really needs to stay closed. So in order for any of these to be considered for release to the public, this is the first step to have that disclosure or opportunity to disclose. And if this isn't taken, then none of these will ever come up for that kind of consideration. And you're right, and I think this is the case. If we don't resolve this, somebody else in the future will have to do this. And more water flows under the bridge for all of these, not any number, it's all of these. So, like I said, in order to clean the slate, in my opinion, this is a necessary step, and one that leads to the next step of review and release.
Thank you for clarifying. I'm good with it.
Anybody else? Okay, yeah, I'm not hearing any more discussion, so. With that, we'll move on. Item 12.2 minutes, there are 2 sets of minutes there for March meetings for your consideration, and I'd like to move those forward for approval at the next meeting. Have any issues with those? Karen, and I think that's several things. But, with that, student advisory representatives, 12.3, thank you so much for your patience and your input earlier this evening.
So to keep the board up to date on the student advisory representative applications, we want to let you all know that the applications close on Monday, and we currently have a group of 7 diverse applicants with great credentials and ideas. We are excited to interview next week after school on the 7th and the 8th, and we will be sending the finalists to the board soon after and continue with more updates. Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for leading this charge. Thank you for being that first wave of filtering, I guess you could call it. I don't have a better word, but thank you for your efforts on this.
We're excited to interview them.
All right, other questions? Item 13, public comment. I don't think there's any.
Don't see any there.
Okay. No public comment to discuss. Item 14, closed session. I move to enter the closed session at 8:24 p.m. for the following for the following discussion of Section 1, the appointment, employment, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees or legal counsel. Section 11, matters related to individual students. Section number 21, discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under this act, period.
Second.
Second from Mr. Feckety. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ruth?
Aye.
Mr. Troy?
Yes.
Mr. Feckety?
Yes.
Mrs. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bobby?
Yes.
Mrs. Maiorino?
Yes.
Mr. Peretti?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. We are in closed session.
Come on.
The other one.
Thank y'all.
All right, resuming open session. We have no actions coming out of closed section. It is 9:23 PM. Have roll call, please.
Mr. Troy?
Here.
Mr. Feckety?
Here.
Mrs. Murray?
Here.
Mr. Bobby?
Here.
Mr. Craddy?
Here.
Mr. Ruth?
Here.
Mrs. Maiorino?
Okay, we have 6 board members present. Motion to adjourn at 9:24 PM. Second. Second from Mr. Craddy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. We're adjourned. Thank you. Good night and good luck.